Go ahead.
Let me stand next to it. Oh, you got it?
This video.
Okay, yeah, so this is a distiller, right? As I said, we get a mix of gasoline, diesel, and kerosene. We have to separate it out before it can go in an engine. So this is a distiller. We put it in here from the bottom, and it comes out the top. And we might just get gasoline or diesel or kerosene pure based on, you know, the temperature we have in here.
Okay, and tell us again about how like the emissions of that works.
Yeah, so this process actually doesn't emit anything because everything that all the products that would be so-called emissions are fuel. You know, like the oil, that's a byproduct, that's fuel. The gas that we filter, that's a byproduct, that's fuel. You know, it's like propane or natural gas, and then the last product we get is carbon. You know, that's all that's left of the plastic in the reactor, and that's so useful for everything. You know what I'm saying? They use that for roads, for tires. So there are no emissions of this process. It's completely carbon neutral. So it's green.
Everything that comes out of it can be reused.
Exactly. You don't want to just emit it. That's a waste of energy.
Okay. Nice. All right. What's going on, everybody? We're back again, Cozy Radio. We got a special guest, this kid right here. Man, I'm very excited for this day's episode. So we've really been kind of like getting into it when it comes to innovation and you know, potential economic. I'm saying potential right now, but definitely we know it's going to be something that's going to be like a big future thing for sure. But economic innovation. So we've got a special guest today. His name is Julian, and I'm gonna let him intro himself. But I just gotta say, I came across Julian on TikTok. Shout out TikTok for plugging some genius, and just the stuff that he was working on. That I'll let him, you know, go into the details of it. Like, not only is it gonna be something that's great for the environment and really the world and the community, but it's just super dope to see a young black kid doing this thing, and he does it well. So with no further ado, Julian, how you doing?
Sir. I'm doing great, man. It's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. So as you were saying, my name is Julian Brown. I go by NatureJab on all platforms, and what I do is I'm an innovator of microwave pyrolysis. Now what that is a way of taking plastic waste and turning it into fuel, like gasoline, like diesel, like natural gas, all that good stuff, truly recycling it.
Taking waste and putting it into a second life, and it comes out cleaner, right?
Yep, it comes out cleaner. Yep.
Okay, so tell us, what have you run it on so far, so we just get like the actual idea of it, you know?
What have I run it on?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it takes all types of plastic, you know. That's one of the advantages to this over regular recycling. We can put every single type in, dirty plastic, clean plastic, all that. I put it all in, and it also can run off of, you know, any type of biomass. You know, you could put it in like wood chips, you could put in, you know, food waste, all types of stuff can go in there. It's going to turn it all into energy.
Okay, cool. All right, so you heard him, Julian, NatureJab. Putting things together, you know, there's no doubt that plastic and waste in general is one of the biggest things, one of the bigger problems that we face. And what Julian does is not only give something like a second life, but he kind of gives it a final wasteful life. The emissions that come out of it are much cleaner. And just being able to intake everything so versatile, like that's crazy, you know, like there's limitless with that.
Right.
And just seeing him do it in his backyard as well is just super inspiring. So before we get more into like the company and how you build things, tell us a little bit more about yourself. You know, how'd you get the idea? Where did it start from? What was kind of like some of the trials and tribulations along the way?
Okay, yeah. So I'll start with myself. First of all, I'm a black belt in karate. Got my black belt back in like 8th grade or whatever. And that definitely was a major part of this project. I'll get into that a little bit later. The next thing I am is I'm a certified welder. when I was in high school, my junior and senior year, I took a welding class, a welding course, and I learned like all three types of welding: stick, MIG, and TIG. And then I also just learned metalwork in general. That was a major part of this reactor, because I had to weld it together. I had to make it myself, and I knew how to do that because of the welding class.
Nice.
Now, in terms of things like, the trials and tribulations, because of course that comes with when you're like, innovating, inventing anything. That's where the karate came in. That mindset that karate gives you of like never giving up, and searching within yourself to know that your destiny is up to you. And so no matter what would happen with that project, no matter what, may get me down or may be resistive to what I'm doing, I know that I want to do this for me, so I'm doing it. What really got me into it, I remember it was my senior year of high school. I had actually ended up getting a pretty bad injury from this dude in my welding class. He had cut my thumb with a knife, right? He sliced my tendon, so I couldn't move my thumb. Now, I always been a type of person, right? I always love to do things with my hands. I have to make something, you know what I'm saying? And in that zone, I couldn't use like my whole hand, right? So for like months. So I was really kind of like going through it. I was kind of depressed and all that. And I couldn't build things, So
no outlet.
Yeah, right. So instead, I just took that time to research. And I knew the one thing I was passionate about, or one of the many things rather, was environmentalism, and particularly waste. You know what I'm saying? Because I always saw waste as a waste, because we take so much energy to make the things we make just to throw them away. You know what I'm saying? We need to do something with that. And I knew something like plastic. I just knew. I didn't even know like all this stuff about it, but I knew something like plastic has so much value to it. So I started looking up. I saw this article saying in 2020, because this was like a little bit after COVID started. It said we have 2 billion masks in the ocean already. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was crazy. I was like, that is nonsense. How? And I thought about like this, right? Nobody's gonna recycle masks. It's medical waste. It's dirty. So I'm like, I need to think of a way that can recycle anything. And the first thing I think of when I think of something like medical waste, I think of like fire and heat. You gotta destroy it. You can't just like turn it into something different. But we know what happens if you burn plastic, though. You know what I'm saying? It's toxic, emission, horrible.
Not something
and so the next best thing is burning it without really burning it. And that's the process of pyrolysis. That's what I came on to, which is basically the process when you heat something up in the absence of oxygen. So it's a completely closed container. And that means, a fire needs oxygen, it needs heat, and it needs it needs fuel to burn. But we're basically taking away the air or the oxygen in that.
Interesting. So
right.
How does that work? How does that?
Yeah. Okay. So what we have is a chamber, like any chamber, metal chamber, and you literally just put it into an environment that's hot. You can literally, take a tin can, fill it up with plastic, close that tin can, and put it into a campfire. And it's going to break down that plastic on the inside, right? Because all that heat energy is breaking down that plastic, right? And what is happening is, instead of it's burning and turning into ash, it's actually charring. This is the same process we use to make charcoal.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Oh, man. All right. So that already, like, I'm learning a lot. Like, how he just described his whole background. I like what you said, and I like, having you on the show. You guys will see a similar theme with a lot of the guests on the show is just having a passion that came from somewhere. It came from sometimes a place of lowness. That's definitely a theme that we've seen. And that passion becoming a creative outlet that just so happens to be, environmentally friendly, sustainable, which is great. He's doing great things with his hands, doing things with the work. I'm more on the economic side, but we still come together. And it's all a part of that. It's all a part of the system, and it's a beautiful thing to see, like, how minds can come together and create something to just work. To do something like this. Like, he's building something that I'm sure we're gonna see more and more. Especially like you stated, not even just with the mask. Like, that's a crazy figure, by the way. But we've got so much more in the atmosphere that we not in the environment that we can start to break down and turn into something that will actually be usable. So I love that. So you said you started in 2020. When did NatureJab kind of like come into fruition as a company, you guys says, or as a brand? And then where are you at with it now, and where do you want to take it?
Yeah, NatureJab started as a brand this year.
Okay.
Exactly the first day of January. That was when I uploaded my first YouTube video of it, because I've been doing the project for years before I started really uploading it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first ever YouTube video, January 1st.
Nice.
And then I really didn't start uploading on TikTok. I didn't even have a TikTok until I believe it was around May, the end of May, right? So NatureJab is, as a brand, is quite new. And what I really want to do with it, where I see it going is, I want it to represent, that logo, my logo, the green logo,
I
the
love
fist.
that.
I want to represent, like, almost being like a warrior for Earth. Like we're fighting.
Captain Planet type. I like that.
right. Like we're fighting to represent and to represent the respect for Earth, because Earth has been so respectful to us for forever, since the beginning. She's been providing all we need, and we just we've been disrespecting her with just throwing plastic in the ocean. Like, I don't believe the Earth can't handle it, but I believe it's a matter of respect. Like you wouldn't just go put your trash in your mama's room. It's a matter of respect.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like this brand will represent. So when we get to the point where this is, a multi-trillion-dollar company, all around the world, people are going to see that logo, and then they're going to remember, we're standing for Earth. We're not standing for money. We're not standing for profit. We're standing for humanity and for Earth and for life.
Yes, sir. This kind of goes back into what two previous episodes actually we talked about. The first one was called Come Up on Corona, which during that time we were talking specifically more about like stocks and investments, but just how Corona in general gave everyone a period of time to kind of like reflect on themselves, and just it slowed everything down, and you kind of had an opportunity to find something deeper within yourself to be passionate about. And then the last episode that we had, I'm not actually sure the order in which I'm gonna put this, but episode 7, Cozy Comprehensive, with my professor, he was just talking about how there are instances in which greed is good. Capitalism can be green, and I'm a huge advocate of that, because I like how capitalism drives innovation and it drives positive change. It just so happens that we haven't necessarily been driving it in a positive direction for a while now. But when you got companies like NatureJab coming out, it kind of puts everybody on their toes again, and lets people know that we do need to respect Earth, and we do need to respect. I like how you say that. Earth may be able to handle it, but Earth's version of handling it might be getting rid of us. Like, there's no guarantee that Earth doesn't need us. Earth doesn't need us. And if we continue to harm Mother Nature, the fish in the sea, the animals out in the wild, taking away their land, taking away things that they need, and just polluting things such as the air and the ocean, Earth could correct itself, and we might not be able to survive that. So we have the gift, truly a blessing, of being able to be intelligent and being able to create these innovative ideas. And it's really just a matter of organizing a system around it in which we can, exist and live. And
absolutely.
All right, I love that. So like you said, you started the TikTok in May, and thank God for that, because that's how I found you. So I know, and we've discussed before, that social growth is kind of like one of your bigger goals right now, and kind of getting the name out there as well. Do you have like an idea of where you want NatureJab to be as far as like in the community? Like, how do you see it, like, playing a role in the community?
Yes. You see, I don't want this ever to be a corporation that's out of touch with society and humanity. I always want it to be something that people see, and that's even the whole reason why I started the YouTube channel, making the videos, because I know, it's harder for people to relate once they already see you and hear your name everywhere. Like we hear Coca-Cola, we don't think of a person. No. We don't think of, we just think of just a brand. I want this to be something like that in every community. All type of stuff. I want, ultimately, what I want for these reactors, right? These devices that turn plastic into fuel. I don't want it one or a couple centralized giant plants. I want them non-centralized, all around the communities of the world. I feel like that's the best way to do it, because that allows, not only just the companies to be a part of this solution, but all the communities to be a part of the solution. They can see themselves, okay, I'm taking trash or my plastic to this local city plant, and it's turning it into fuel. We know it's turning into fuel. We know it's really doing this, and it's going back to the community. You know, it's all right there. It's not being shipped halfway across the world or whatever they do with plastic now. You know, it's really being properly handled right here.
So you see your idea of it as kind of like the community, the family takes it to a plant that's not too far off from where they live.
Yeah.
They get their trash recycled. You see the fuel kind of being distributed either back to the family or I guess some other way that, you know, maybe the state or the city kind of regulates.
Yeah, I kind of see it like this, right? You know, a couple of years ago, it was more than a couple of years ago, but you know, remember when you could take in glass to recycle it? You get paid like a couple cents.
Yeah.
Same with aluminum cans.
It's a very common business model in other countries. Yes.
Look, when that was a thing in America, we had almost no glass litter, almost no aluminum can litter. But now that they stopped that, people have no incentive. You just see glass bottles flung all over the place. I want to do that with plastic.
Okay.
Just think about it like that. Think about that mindset. I could collect plastic water bottles, maybe get a couple bucks out of it. That's going to give people an incentive to want to bring it in. Now, you know, they're getting paid to bring in plastic, and then fuel's coming out, waste management is coming out of that, other products are coming out of that, all this useful stuff, all this abundance is coming out of that.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I would also encourage people, you know, I do think in the beginning it's going to be a big thing to like incentivize being green. But you know, guys, like don't wait for it to be incentivized. You know, like we got to start now. So, you know, do your part where you can. Now, the recycling business is kind of, you know, tough. It's a little shady now. It's not always guaranteed, but there are other ways you can do. You see the garden in the background. He's already on top of it, you know, doing things like composting, growing your own fruits and plants, just being conscious about your waste in general. Americans are notorious for their waste. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can get started now before you see an NJAB reactor popping up in your
I completely agree with that, because, you know, even things like this garden, that just represents, you know, you're getting closer connection with Earth, and, you know, by growing your own things, or especially composting your food waste, your organic waste, that's another great way, like you said, to just, you know, start. That's how I started. You know, I first started with composting all my family's food waste, and then I went on to, you know, I was like, okay, we got all this food waste, but now we got all this plastic waste. What can I do with that, you know? Start with a question.
Okay. Yeah, start with that's a big one. Start with your why. That's also a great book. If you haven't, you know, kind of found something that motivates you to get up and do something along these lines, I always, you know, encourage some people to tailor their passions towards sustainability, or, you know, something along those lines. Even if you think it doesn't fit, there's a way you can make it fit. I'm super into economics, you know, that's almost like one of the main problems when it comes to it. But I try in everything I do to make my business models fit and, you know, reduce impact on the front end or the back end. But moving forward past that, so kind of still on the same topic of economics. So obviously everything that you know, build does have a cost. Everything does have, you know, some restraints. So I'm gonna ask you kind of like a two-part question. With where you're at now and with where you see things going now, what is kind of like the projection you see for it to reach whatever goal, whether that be X amount of reactors in just this city or in this state, as it is now? And then say you didn't have those restraints, what growth type pattern would you like to see?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the main restraints of this technology is really the permits and regulations. You know,
Okay.
This is like a form of waste management, and it is creating petroleum chemicals.
Okay.
You know, so that you got to get regulated for that and all that. So let's just say I can only get regulated in the state of Georgia right now, in my county, in this county here. So I would say the first goal here would be able to. We want to be able to put enough reactors here that can handle all this county's waste. Let's say it takes 5 reactors, 5 industrial scale reactors.
Okay.
You know, I personally see it as it's better to have more smaller ones than one bigger one, because then if something happens to one, the rest are still operational.
Okay.
You know, so let's say we have 5 small industrial ones, or maybe even just 1 or 2 for this county here. Yeah. That would be the goal, the immediate goal here, because then that'll show as an example to other counties.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing this. It works. It's safe. Now other counties want it. You know,
I like that.
You know, and then it becomes a thing where now we have them, you know, per every city or whatever. You know, it might even be a thing where it's like businesses could have a small one like behind their business. You know, there's a lot of businesses that produce just a lot of plastic waste themselves, like fast food and all that.
I could see that. Yeah.
You know, they might have just a small one in the back, because this, you know, one of the things about this technology is it works at almost every scale.
Yeah.
You know, I built this in my backyard, and we also gonna build it really big.
And for people who are hearing this and might think that this is a little far-fetched, it's really not, because Singapore, I believe it is, has a similar version to where, I don't know if they convert their trash into fuel, but they do take their trash and they're able to get a zero waste emission out of it through, I don't know what the process is, but Singapore has like their own industrial version of this. That
I think I've seen that before. It's called the Asher, right?
I think so. Yeah. It's really interesting. So it's definitely feasible. It's just like you heard, America as a whole is going to have some type of, federal regulation that needs to put into it, and then you have to think about state by state, county by county. So it's definitely more of like a system thing, which is another reason why I'm gonna say it's important to go out and get involved in your community and get involved in things like elections or just whatever. Let your representatives know what you want and let them know that there are options. And I'm always gonna be a power to the people type person. Community has that power, and it takes. It's time for us in our local communities to see technologies like this and implement them, and then let that scale up from local to state to nationwide and so on and so forth. So I'm definitely looking forward to the growth projection of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So then let's say we get it suited up for every city or whatever, right? Then we want to put in every city in the USA.
Okay.
We want to do that. This business is, I had a good buddy of mine tell me that this business is like the gold rush.
Okay.
There's the people who go to collect the gold, then there's the people who bring pickaxes to sell to the people who are going to collect gold.
I like that.
And the first thing I talked to that dude is, okay, how can I be both?
Okay.
I want to produce these units, sell to, let's say we sell them to recycling companies. So then the recycling company can actually really recycle right there in their spot. But I also want to produce the plants. I want to build plants too. So I'm not only am I going to be, like providing like the pickaxes, but I'm also going to be getting some gold, myself directly by building the plants, because I feel like there's great economic growth in this. The waste management industry and the recycling industry are $100 billion industries every year. Global is crazy. And we're just talking the US, you best believe I have, had so many people from Africa, from Latin America reach out to me. Asian nations like the Philippines reach out to me. We love to have this technology here.
Okay.
That's a whole other sector. It is already like international in the minds of people. They know this is a problem. We need it everywhere. So ultimately, I don't want this to ever be limited to just one country or just one whatever. We want this everywhere.
Exactly. This is a global fight. This is something that we're gonna have to deal with as a people, and we need to start getting in that mindset. This is one planet. One people. We gotta figure these things out, because Earth doesn't need us. It'll be able to do what it needs to do. So we gotta take care of her as she's been taking care of us.
Exactly.
So all right, cool. That really wraps up a lot of like the fundamental questions and everything. I usually go into the kind of like the personality questions at this point. But do you have anything else you want to put out? And plug your socials real quick. Is it NatureJab across everything?
Yeah, it's NatureJab across everything except my Instagram, because some bellend took it. It's NatureJab _ on Instagram. That's it. But yeah, NatureJab, no space on everything else.
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. All right, let's get into these personality questions real quick. This is good though. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I got 3 for you. All right, first one. If you could relive any moment in your life, what would it be and why? You're a young man. Wait, you're 18?
I'm 19.
19.
Yeah,
19.
yeah.
Okay. So at the ripe age of 19, what's the standout moment for you?
I probably would. I would relive the time when I got my hand cut, if I could, because I remember that state. I felt so many emotions at one time. I felt, the pain, the physical pain. I felt, the betrayal. It was actually my friend that cut my hand at the time. At the time, he was my friend. So I felt betrayal. I felt. Hey.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, for real though. Yeah. So I felt all those emotions, but emotions are power. It's energy right there.
That's true. That's true.
If you're an alchemist, you could turn all that energy into
Ooh,
something right.
Okay.
And
I just came back from an anime convention, so I really just went straight to Full Metal Alchemist right there. But no, go ahead.
Yeah, for real though. And I like to see myself as an alchemist of energy. You know,
Okay.
like, whatever energy it is, bad, good, I turn all that I get. And I funnel it into what I want it to be. And in that time, I felt so much. I remember I had so much anger. You know, I remember this was around the time I started building this reactor. I wanted to take that dude and chop him up and turn him into fuel. Just being real with you. Just being real with you, right? But I want to go back and just feel all that again, all that energy with the perspective I have now. You know, knowing that what that situation did. Because, you know, when you're in the situations, it looks like a dead end. It looks like you don't know where you're going to go from here. You don't know what's going to happen. But if I knew what I knew now, then I would have seen all that energy, and I just would have I feel like I would have gone even more. I would have innovated even more, you know, because I wouldn't have wasted so much time thinking about him. You know, I forgave him literally like the next month, right? Because I knew you can't spend your life, you know, holding grudges. You're not getting nowhere, you know. So I forgave him the next month, but I would have forgiven him even sooner had I known, you know, that this is my wake up moment, my time to really, you know, tap into my purpose and my destiny.
You kind of gotta give him a little bit of credit, you know, because if you wouldn't have cut your finger,
you're right.
You never know.
Okay, I might give him 0.5% of the shares.
Okay. So my second question for you: the origins of Cozy Radio went back to music. Music